The programming on Metro TV does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Metro Council, the mayor, or Metro government staff.
Welcome to another installment of Leadership Landscape TV, where we go inside the minds of local community leaders and allow them a chance to offer some keen insights into how they see themselves and, most importantly, explore just what makes them tick. I'm Kirt Jacobs, host of Leadership Landscape TV, where previous interviews have showcased leaders from the world of politics, religion, business, sports, law, community activism, and civic engagement. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special treat for our 175th guest. We are on the grounds of the University of Louisville campus at the Swain Student Activity Center. Our guest is the one and only Tom Jurich. He is the Vice President and Director of Athletics for the University of Louisville. Now, for those of you who may not know our guest, you probably aren't from Louisville, but allow me to read some of Tom's bio. He was hired on October 21st, 1997. Jurich had a simple mission: to compete and execute at the highest level on the field, in the classroom, and in the community, while fully focused on graduating student athletes and creating an entire athletic department that, quote, stays hungry and humble. With a tireless work ethic and engaging personality, he has made a permanent mark by leading a department that has enjoyed tremendous athletic and academic accomplishments, as well as experiencing an unprecedented growth during his tenure. In 2003, Jurich set a new precedent, being named Vice President at UofL, and is so today. From facilities to gender equity, from community involvement to national leadership, it has been said, quote, "It all shows yet again that the hiring of Tom Jurich, the architect of this Louisville emergence in 1997, stands as one of the most significant events in Kentucky's modern sports history." You see, the head coach, he is not, but he hires the coaches that know how to win and win big. Under Jurich, UofL's athletic teams have produced unparalleled success. In basketball in 2001, he did the impossible and hired Coach Rick Pitino. Why? Because Rick couldn't tell Tom no. That's power. Pitino takes UofL then to 3 NCAA Final Four appearances and wins the 2013 national title. In 2007, he hires Coach Jeff Waltz for the women's basketball. They reached the title game twice in just 6 years. In baseball, in 2007, he hires Coach Dan McDonnell. McDonnell then takes the team to 3 appearances to the College World Series in just 7 years. In football, in 2014, he hires back Coach Bobby Pitino, and the program itself has produced 2 BCS Bowl wins, the 2013 All-State Sugar Bowl, dominating a 3rd-ranked Florida team, and the 2007 FedEx Orange Bowl over Wake Forest. Women's volleyball, listen to this, 3 Sweet 16 appearances and advanced to the NCAA tourney 17 of the last 18 seasons. Soccer, men's team reached the 2010 national title game and advanced to its 3rd straight NCAA Elite 8 appearance in 2012. While women's soccer program advanced to the Sweet 16 in 2011. Off the field, he took UofL to the ACC in 2014 after navigating away from the Big East Conference, where it had dominated from 2005 to 2013. And this is a special note for sports buffs. Louisville's 2012-13, quote, Year of the Cardinal marked the first time any university has ever won a BCS-level bowl game, placed both its men and women's basketball teams in the NCAA Final Four, and reached the College World Series in the same season. Unbelievable. Now, there's more. Stadiums. Jurich has overseen hundreds of millions of dollars in capital improvements, including the Dr. Mark and Cindy Lynn Stadium, an $18.5 million soccer facility, an expansion of softball's Ulmer Stadium, both completed in 2014. In 2013, a $4 million expansion of Jim Patterson Stadium was completed, and Papa John's Cardinal Stadium seating capacity was recently expanded. And the University of Louisville broke ground on a new $14.5 million Thornton's Academic Center of Excellence for the fall of 2016. In 2010, Jurich was instrumental in moving UofL's men's and women's basketball programs to downtown Louisville to the 22,000-seat KFC Yum Center. 2014-15 season, CBS Sports ranked UofL athletics among the top 3 nationally in its annual Best in College Sports review each of the past 3 years, including a 2nd-place ranking. Jurich has received the Louisvillian of the Year Award by the Louisville Ad-Fed, the Dan Mangeot Memorial Award, and the Louisville Quarterback Club Sportsman of the Year Award. In 2007, this is pretty cool, he and his wife Terry Lynn shared U of L's prestigious Hickman Camp Award for exemplary contributions to the athletic department and was named Louisville Magazine's Person of the Year. University of Louisville has signed Jurich to a contract extension that will keep him with the Cards through 2023. He and his wife, Terry Lynn, a former Miss Wyoming, not too shabby, have 4 children. Sons Mark, who's a Senior Associate Athletic Director of Development at the University of Louisville, who is married to wife Lainey, with children Jay Ryan, Thomas Jack, and Anna Alexandria, and Brian, and twin daughters Haley and Lacey. Tom Jurich, it is a true pleasure and honor to have you here. And welcome to Leadership Landscape TV.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
It's quite an honor to have you join our gallery of guests. What is the most defining moment of your life, Tom? And it can be more than one, personal or professional.
I think, without a doubt, it would be marrying my wife, Terry Lynn.
Okay.
I mean, she's just been such a rock in our family, such an icon, and somebody that's just been incredibly supportive of me and our entire family, and just been a tremendous wife and mother and grandmother. So I really owe pretty much everything I have to her.
Mm-hmm. And did you all, how did you meet and where did you meet?
We met when I was at Northern Arizona University. I was the athletic director there, and she was
Great.
in Wyoming. She was Miss Wyoming.
That's right.
And she was coming out of the Miss America pageant. We both were in a wedding together.
Oh, okay.
She was the maiden of honor, and I was the groomsman. And so we were setting up a kind of the night before party. It was a smaller wedding, and we just met really on the phone and really had no intentions or anything. And just it kind of grew into one thing led to another, and we spent about 2 months on the phone and just became great friends, and just it all worked. Very blessed.
How does the phrase go? I hope no one takes this wrong. Behind every great man, there's a greater woman, or something like that.
There's definitely a greater woman
Yes,
behind me.
that's
There's no
awesome.
question.
Now, this next question I think definitely applies to you. What drives you to excel in your area of expertise? I mean, from the conference changes to the national championship wins, the ability and the insight and intuition to hire the coaches you do that not only can coach well, but they win championships. And then, of course, all the stadiums and facilities that you've been overseeing and been instrumental in making large contributions.
First, I give all the credit to the good Lord. I mean, there's no question about it. I ask for wisdom every day. I ask for leadership from Him every day, and I certainly there's a higher being in my life. There's no question about it. But I think I'm very motivated. I've always been a very motivated person. I'm very ambitious. I think there's some aggressive. I'm aggressive. I think I'm aggressive to a good point. I want to make sure that things are done and done right.
Right.
I think if I do have a weakness, it's probably I'm impatient, and I want to get things done yesterday, and sometimes that can't happen. But I like to excel because I like to see the results around us that affect so many great people. We have about 760 student athletes.
Okay.
So we're running through there every year. And that's important to me that they have the greatest experience they possibly can, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what we're all here for.
Mm-hmm. Whom do you credit most influential in your life, Tom? And again, it can be more than one, personal or professional.
My father, may he rest in peace, but he was a great leader. He was a great inspiration to me. I had tremendous parents. My mom and dad were just incredibly supportive, and I learned so much from him. I learned toughness. I learned that you look in a mirror, you don't make excuses. You always tell the truth. You always tell the truth. That's why I'm such a big harper on class and integrity. Things aren't always going to go our way, but the one thing we always can control is the truth. So that's what I always want to live by, is the truth.
In 1997, when you got the call and ultimately made the decision to come here, did you ever see 20 years down the road being in the same spot? Did you develop a plan and design in your mind and implement it, or is it an evolution of steps? I think the audience would be curious to know how you were able to implement such success in so many different areas as an athletic director.
I think anybody that would say you had a vision for this, it would be crazy.
Right.
There's no way.
Appreciate your honesty.
I came here and I knew there was a lot of problems. That's why the job was open. And I had a great job. I was at Colorado State. Terry Lynn's and her family lived in Wyoming, and everything worked really good for us up there. And they were very persistent here. Harry Jones, specifically, and Sam Rector were the two people that really searched me out and came after me. And Harry, I think, was at the time the board of trustees president, or was on it, and Sam was on the board of trustees. So that they kind of worked it with me for about a 4 or 5 month period, because I really had no intention of leaving. And if you know those two people, and I've grown to know them and love them very much, they don't take no for an answer. And I basically said no to them 4 different times over a 4 or 5 month period. Nothing about the University of Louisville. It's just I didn't want to pick up my family.
Sure,
and then
it's a big deal.
Finally, we said, let's take a look. And we went and looked, and We knew that there was things to fix, and we had a lot of speed bumps in the road, and we knew we were going to have to deal with them head on, and I did. And so what I tried to do immediately was to break down what are the issues. And number one had to be the compliance, because they were under NCAA violations, and they were on probation, and I had no experience with that. I've never had experience with the NCAA, and I just wanted to, I deal with the NCAA, but I've never had it on the side of enforcement. So I learned a lot through that process, and that was winding down in the basketball situation. So we got that worked out, and we took our medicine and moved on. And then I had to look at the football program. The football program was ailing, so I had to deal with that immediately. Academics, I really wanted to see academics grow. I thought we really lacked in an academic setting, and I really wanted to see the culture grow and get better. And then I also want to see gender equity become a huge priority here.
Mentioned that in your bio.
It's very important to me. Title IX and gender equity are very, very important to me, and something I've lived by. I've got beautiful twin daughters who were field hockey players here.
That's great.
So I always wanted to, on a selfish standpoint, I wanted to make sure they had an opportunity, not here, but anywhere in the country. And I think the little bit that I could do at this university, I think would send a good message throughout the country. So those were the 4 areas we had to fix. We had to fix compliance, academics, gender equity, and then attack facility.
Tom, what is the best piece of advice ever given to you? And again, it could be more than one, personal or professional.
Best piece of advice easily that's been given to me was by my dad. He always said, look in the mirror.
I love that.
Look in the mirror, and I live by that. I live by that every single morning I get up, and I don't do it to comb my hair or to make sure I shaved right. I do it to say, how can you get better today? And, and I've just never been an excuse maker, and I credit him for all that. Excuses were not allowed in our family. We dealt with it. And you take the good with the bad, and you deal with it. So I think that's the greatest advice I've always lived with.
I'm going to segue for a moment. In 2001, you were able to bring Coach Rick Pitino here, the men's basketball coach. What was that like in terms of satisfaction as an athletic director, what it did for the university, what it did for your tenure? I mean, that to me as a fellow Louisvillian, it seemed like a pivotal moment in the community. It might not just have been that, but I wanted to get your take or maybe a little bit of the backstory on that.
It was a very pivotal moment. We were in need. I think Denny was phasing out.
Sure.
And the program, I think the fans were so hungry to get back on the winning side of it. And I think Coach Pitino was as big a name as the sport has.
Yeah.
And for him to be attracted to us a little bit, at least give me a little window to be able to break through to talk to him. And I think the craziness of the whole thing is what made it so attractive to him, and he knew, and it was a big rebuilding job. There's no way to hide around that, but nobody was better suited for that job than him, and so that was a great blessing for the school, because we were in dire straits. We were in Conference USA. We were at the bottom of Conference USA. We were not doing well, and so we needed it to be a jump start, and he gave it to us. Not only gave it to us in basketball, he gave it to us a great jolt of energy for the athletic department and the university, and certainly first and foremost the community.
So this show is Leadership Landscape TV. That's the name of it. So we ask the obvious question: can you define leadership in one word, Tom, in the great English lexicon, as I like to say? And it can be more than one.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that have many different definitions. I've always looked at leadership as attitude.
Okay.
That would be my word, is attitude.
That's great.
I never saw leadership as you be up here and everybody else down here and they're going to follow. I've never believed in that. I believe people that need to look at you, they need to respect you, and by respecting you, you have to earn that respect.
Right.
I don't think if you don't earn that respect, you're not going to get it. You can't go buy the respect. You can't put it on your job description for the new people coming in. You need to respect me. It doesn't work that way. You have to earn it, and the only way you earn it is by your actions. So I've always tried to live a very clean life. I try to do things the right way. I make mistakes like anybody else, but I always try to hone up to them. And I hope I'm very caring to people. That's, I think, the number one thing I try to do here is be very caring and very sensitive to our people. Because to me, nobody is higher than the next. In our area, we have over 300 and some employees.
Wow.
To me, every single one of them is as valuable as the next.
Each has a
purpose. Every sport is the same. To me, our women's soccer program, our men's basketball program, our football, our women's golf, to me, everything's the same. And that's how I've tried to build this place. That we're 23 sports, we're a comprehensive athletic department, and we all care for each other. We build a family. And a lot of people love to throw that word out, family.
Sure.
But we try to walk the walk. And so many people can talk it, we walk it. And that's what I'm so proud of this department.
Now this next question, you'd mentioned attitude earlier about the leadership question. This is what I call the mouthful question in our show that we ask all our guests. Can you Can you describe in particular detail your own philosophy on leadership where you utilized it in a situation? It can be about attitude or it can be something else.
Well, I would always start with attitude, and I think if you have a positive attitude, and I know in our job here, not everything goes on every day that's just perfect.
Sure.
There's so many ups and downs. There's so many times that you hit a speed bump, you hit a landmine, that you've got to deal with. So I really don't have a job description because
Right, that's
it
a great
changes
point.
every day. I don't think in my 32 years as an athletic director, I don't think I've had the same day twice. And so I try to be somebody that's very resilient, can be very versatile, I think can be very flexible, but I think in leadership, I think you've got to bring people in and see their vision as well as have them see your vision. So I think this is teamwork. I think teamwork is everything. This athletic department would never work if it was just Tom Jurich up here saying, do this, do that, do that.
No, it wouldn't.
It's me listening to these people that have all the great ideas, and I just get out in front of them. I'm just blessed enough to be out in front of it and make it look like a parade. So it works out great that way.
Now, not everything goes perfect. You just
No,
mentioned that
no, it sure
as an AD. So how do you, without mentioning names, when you realize intuitively or just frankly, the win-loss column that you've made a bad hiring decision, maybe it's attitude, how do you deal with that and try to mitigate that negative attitude that might permeate the department, I guess?
Well, the great thing about it is I think we've got a great track record of hiring people.
You do.
And I think that people here trust us. Now, it is an inexact science.
Right.
I think anybody who's ever hired people know that. I've seen people come in here that I thought, or here at Colorado State or Northern Arizona where I've been before, where I thought would be just the perfect coach, and it didn't work because of fit. Fit is everything to me in a hire. Now, obviously, you're looking at coaches you're going to hire that have great ability, but I put fit as high as anything up on the characteristics of what I'm looking for. So, and I know what our fan base is looking for. I know what our school's looking for. I know what kind of athletes we recruit here and all that. So I think I got a pretty good idea, but for me to sit here and tell you I can pull it off every time, you can't, because it's an inexact science.
If someone asked you, what does Tom Jurich stand for, what would you tell them? Not how they perceive you, which might not be suitable for TV, but what would you say about yourself?
I'm going to strive to always have the greatest integrity. Integrity's everything to me, because I want to be able to go and lay on a pillow at night. I don't sleep very well anyway in the first place. I sure don't want to have a conscience that bothers me.
Yeah.
And so integrity is everything, because if I don't have it, then my family's not going to have it. If my family doesn't have it, then I've been a failure.
Now, I want to talk about the facilities that you've built or facilitated and making happen, from Papa John's Cardinal Stadium to the Yum Center to Jim Patterson Stadium, and I'm sure there's 2 or 3 others I haven't mentioned. Do you have a favorite, or are they all kind of like your children? I mean, what's kind of the metaphor in your mind with those and the experience leading up to them becoming reality?
I think they probably are like your children. I was very, very fortunate to come in, and Papa John's was coming out of the ground when I took the job in that October. So we had to make sure that we got on board and got that thing finished, and to do that, and then all the other projects that have added on around it has kind of made it a great village that we have here. And I think we're kind of a model for this country as far as facilities, and that's something I'm very proud of, and that's just a compliment to this community for enabling us to do all these things. But what it's enabled us to do also with these facilities is to be able to recruit some of the greatest athletes in the world.
Oh, without question.
And that's really helped put this place on the map.
Now I'm going to do what I call picture association. I'm just going to hold them up, and the camera will overlay them later. It's amazing what you find on the internet. It says this guy is kind of good at his job. It's got you in front of Papa John's Cardinal Stadium, and then I believe this is you correct me if I'm wrong, the 2013 National Championship, or am I?
That's the Big East Championship.
Big East, excuse me, forgive me.
Yeah.
And here you are with your family.
That was the national championship.
There we go. That was a
down
great
Atlanta,
picture.
just missing Mark. He was there, but he was doing something else.
We got him covered. And there's your lovely wife, Terry Lynn.
Yeah, that's
Terry Lynn, excuse me. And then I love this picture, the proud father looking on at the son. This was the announcement, I guess,
of the expansion, which is certainly all that's in his hands.
Sure.
So I get in the background on that one.
I got you. And now, what is this one?
That was our senior day for my daughters at field hockey here at the
awesome.
University of Louisville.
And this is when you'd only been here, 4 or 5 years. I think this is when Denny was leaving. Coach
No,
Crum.
this is, I think, when we were doing coaches, when we named the court for him.
Court for him? Gotcha. And then this is?
You're making a big challenge with
I got you. That's fine. Let's see. This looks like you got Rick Pitino here. This might be the national championship.
Yeah, that was a celebration coming back from Atlanta.
Okay. And here you are, Sil. I love this one. You and Pitino's the 700 wins, and then you've got a fist bump here.
Yeah, we do that.
Pretty impressive.
It's been great having him. He's
Sure.
we do that every 100 wins, and it seems to come pretty quick with him, which is great.
And I love this picture. I think it says 1,000 words about your relationship
Yeah,
with
Bobby's
Coach
doing
Pitino.
great. We're
Yeah,
so
and bringing him
fortunate
back.
to have him back.
Yeah.
We are really so fortunate.
And I think this is the expansion conference.
Yeah, yep. That
Press
was it.
conference.
Right.
Here's a photo of you in front of the Papa John's Cardinal Stadium. I love that. And the reason why I put this one in here, it's the stadium with Churchill Downs in the background.
Oh, beautiful.
Which is beautiful.
Beautiful picture.
Here's a big game day, probably Saturday. It's just impressive. I want to put visuals for the audience so that they can see the remarkable amount of stuff that you had your hand involved in. This is Jim Patterson, who did rallies and Long John Silver's baseball stadium.
That is a crown jewel of
It
all,
is.
of all our facilities. And when you talk to ESPN and those people, they just love our venue.
And here's the front entrance, and we're going to have Coach McDonald, the baseball coach, on our show.
He's wonderful.
Here you are giving him an award, I believe.
He gets lots of
2014.
them.
Yes,
he gets
he
lots
does.
of them because he's just a superstar.
Night pictures of the stadium and then Patterson Stadium. Now, this is the one I almost didn't even put in here. I failed to almost remember it, the Yum Center. There's a lot of work went into that.
That was
That's
a great
the skyline
community
show.
project.
It was.
Great community, great state project. The state was
exactly.
very instrumental in making that happen.
And if you've ever been in there, it's impressive how big it is on the inside. And then here's a night shot, and then I've got you talking here coming up. I wanted to show the breadth and depth of what you're involved in. That's why I wanted to have so many pictures. This is at the luncheons, and here you are, I believe, announcing the move to the ACC
right.
with President Ramsey. Here you are with Matt Thornton. We've had him as a guest. I think you're announcing the Academic Center,
Right.
I believe. And then
And that's
sadly,
on-
go ahead, I'm sorry.
We're under construction for that.
That's great.
That's great.
And sadly, one of our guests who's passed, Sam Swope, and you were.
Wonderful man.
Yeah, and here you are with your lovely wife, I guess, at a baseball game, and Jim Patterson.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And this is the one here. Now, there is some fun you get to have with being an athletic director. Here you are signing bottles of Maker's Mark with Bill Samuels. We've had him as well. And here's his son who took over, Bill Samuels Jr. You're dipping the wick, as I call it. I'll leave it at that. And here's one. You know, on the internet, you never know what you're going to find. Here's an ACC bottle and a mat of Maker's Mark with your picture on it. And then I don't know where this came from, but I thought it was a cute picture. There's a penny of you in Tom We Trust 2012. And then I've got your partners in crime to end it off with, Kenny Klein, who's been very helpful setting up this interview.
As
Great
good as
man.
there is in the business, right?
He's
there.
a great man.
He's a superstar.
And then here we are, for those Louisvillians that don't know, you got Terry Miners to the left. Then there's yourself, Coach Pitino. You guys look like you're out for a golf
We're on
outing.
a golf outing,
Yeah.
coach's outing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's about as fast as I can go through
Oh, great.
what you do on and off
Memory
the
road.
field. Yeah, exactly. So that is a great segue into the next question. You know, in many ways, you're driving your own bus, but at the same time, you got to account to, I guess, the board of trustees or whomever. If they told you to take 2 full weeks, you know, no technology, no social media, get lost, 14 calendar days, 10 business days, where do you go? What do you do? Who do you take with you?
Just to relax, you mean?
Or whatever. It's your 2 weeks to
they
do
give me-
anything you wanted.
I'd probably go to Colorado.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
we love Steamboat Springs, and I would certainly want it to be with my family and our dog Yogi, and he loves it, and he loves the mountains, and
Yeah,
so that would probably be, that's a great getaway for us.
it is. And I assume you have family there as well.
No, we really don't. We really
Don't?
don't. I've just been going there about 24 years now.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
We love it up there.
That's great. Now, this is more of the introspective leadership question that I like to ask all our guests. If you could have dinner alone with one person, living or past, who would it be and why?
I think it would be my dad. I think it would be my dad because I think he'd passed. He died in a sudden car accident in
wow.
2000.
Sorry.
So he's really not been able to see all that's evolved here at Louisville.
That's a good point.
He didn't get to see his grandson become a 2-time All-American baseball player. And my dad was a baseball player, so that would have.
Oh, wow.
So he missed out on some things. He didn't get to see our younger son be a phenomenal wrestler, or the twins grow up to be outstanding field hockey players.
Right.
He would have. I think he would have really treasured that. So if I could have had those moments back, I would be. And I'd love to thank him again for what he's taught me.
The insight. With
Yeah,
that quote.
there was no question. And how to be a man. How to be a man's man. That was always his saying. And he always told me, you be humble, and you always be hungry. And I think those are terms that we use around here to this day. And I hope my son uses it when he's an athletic director. Because I think it's an incredible philosophy. But everything that my dad and mom both taught me, I've carried this far with me. So I really can't take credit for much.
Right.
I've got to give all the credit where it is due, and it's due to them.
Well, I can't speak for them, but I think they'd be very proud of what you've done and what you're going to continue
Well,
to
it's
do.
great. We were able to move my mom here. She's 86.
Oh, okay.
We moved her here to Louisville a couple years ago.
That's great.
So it's been great having her here.
That's great. If you could have written a letter to the younger Tom Jurich, pick whatever age you want, what might you have said to yourself?
I wish you'd have slowed down. I wish you'd have stopped and smelled the roses along the way. Because it does go by very quickly. And believe it or not, this is my 32nd year, and it's gone like that.
Yeah.
There's days that don't go like that,
Well, sure.
believe me. But the majority of the time, I'm not coming here because it's a job. I come here because it's my passion, and that's what I try to hire people on. But I just think if I look back and said, just take some time and enjoy the ride. And I don't think I probably did that.
Right.
I'm always looking at the next thing. How are we going to get this, and how are we going to get here and that? And I'm always so worried for all the teams. I want to make sure that they have everything they could possibly have, and and like they always say, Rome wasn't built in a day.
I'm going to ask you kind of a broad, generic question, and you can take it in terms of pride or difficulty. What are you most proud of or found to be the most difficult? Was it the stadiums, the hiring of coaches, let's be honest, the controversies that erupt? What is it, or are they all mutually exclusive?
They're probably mutually exclusive. All of them are very difficult. The controversies are something you don't like because you never really see them coming.
Right, they just appear.
They just appear, so you're not prepared for them. I think I can handle them better. I'm more equipped now to handle them because I've been through so many of them through my career. But it's always something that's unexpected, and that's tough. Facilities is probably the easiest piece, although it takes so much effort and work to get it done.
Right.
You kind of have a map to follow. You kind of know how to do it. You start out with the idea, then you get the architects, and then you get the bid process, and then you raise the money, and you know what the coaches want. But the ones I think that you can't prepare for, though, are always the most difficult.
What do you foresee, because this show will air for several years, what do you see on the horizon that you kind of mentioned it earlier that you didn't like about, or the issues you have to deal with social media? What are the positive things you see in terms of the collegiate sports world?
Well, I think you got some bright people coming up. There's no question about it. I think you have great leadership in the NCAA. The NCAA gets a bad mark a lot of times by public, but people don't realize that the NCAA is us. We're the NCAA. So we've created this entire operation. So I think just looking at that, my daughter has the opportunity to work up there also, and she sees it. It's just great people that are involved in. I think it's a real bright future. I really do. I think it's an extremely bright future, and I love the direction this community's gone. So I think from a selfish standpoint, I think the University of Louisville is going to be in great hands for many, many years to come.
Now, this last question we ask all of our guests, younger or older, visible in the community, not so visible. How do you want to be remembered, Tom? God forbid it all ends today. How do you want to be remembered?
I think the only thing I would want to be remembered for is that I cared for people. That's all I want to do. To me, everything that I do is surrounded by people. Like I said, there's no being up here and everybody else down here. We're all in this together, and I'm a huge believer in family. I'm a huge believer in that, and I couldn't be more blessed than to work with the kind of people I work with here. It's because they're great. My dad, you always ask for advice, but great piece of advice he gave me always: hire people that are better than you are. So I've tried to do that over the 18 years, and I think I would have made him proud on that one, because we have such phenomenal people here.
Yeah, it's been a remarkable run so far.
Let's keep it going.
I appreciate it, Tom.
Thank you so much.
I'm truly humbled and honored that you've joined the guest list.
It's my pleasure and a privilege.
Thank you so much. If you have any general feedback or a suitable guest you'd like to have on our show, just email me at kirt@leadershiplandscapetv.com or catch us on Facebook. Just type in Leadership Landscape TV. Until next time, I'm Kirt Jacobs. Thanks for watching.
Metro TV, a public service of Louisville Metro government.